Hi, welcome back to Job Opportunity. And today we have Mr. David Lai, who is a world-renowned designer and the founder of the company Hello Design. His company has worked and designed for Herman Miller, Nike, Sonos, Samsung, Speedo, MoMA, and Facebook. To start off, can you briefly explain your profession as a CEO and a creative designer?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm creative CEO and creative director of a digital creative agency here in Los Angeles. We've been around for a little over 20 years. And what that means is our focus is really on creating strategic, sort of thinking about strategic insights for a lot of the brands we work with, but also focused on the creative execution as well. So my role is to oversee, the overall agency. So that's everything from being in the work to actually helping the business run. So that's everything from operations to new business to recruiting and so forth. So yeah, it's a little bit of everything, to be honest.
And do you mind walking us through your journey into becoming a business owner?
I think I found an opportunity where, there's a piece of software that I really liked, and the interface was just not very well designed. And I found an opportunity to create a better one, where I design new icons and things like that. And actually just emailed it to the company and, a little naive and so forth, but really with this idea of wanting to create something better. And what happened is that company emailed me back and said, we'd love to use this. And so then I realized early on that there was a value in creating, design solutions for their businesses. Later on, I'd go work for other designers. I worked for a design agency in San Francisco. It was started by one of the creative directors out of Apple, and got again some great experience there. Then worked for another agency in Santa Monica, where I got more experience working on some really exciting brands. But that at some point had built up enough of a portfolio where clients started to call me direct. And that was really the start of Hello Design, where we just sort of said, you know what, like, let's just give it a go. And, that's how we started. We just sort of started with one client and then grew from there.
And what would you say was your biggest change when you switched from working under someone else and then going into your own company?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest change for me was really realizing that every decision you make is your responsibility. And at some point, you realize what's even more important, that is that you're no longer only responsible for yourself, but you're responsible for everybody that works with you and in your company. And you have a responsibility to them as well. And trying to figure out that balance between what's in the best interest of the company is always a tough one, because sometimes decisions are not black and white. At the end of the day, you can go to mentors, you can ask other people what they think, but you're responsible for those decisions at the end of the day, and you can't sort of put it on somebody else. So I think that is a huge change from working for somebody else, but with it comes great opportunity. That every decision you make, whether it's who you work with, who you decide not to work with, who you think is a right fit. I mean, these are all things that, again, are not always easy questions to answer, because sometimes you're not sure. But ultimately, you are your own boss. And with that is both freedom and, at some point, responsibility, like I said.
And talking about working with different companies, what are some of what are your most favorite clients that you work with right now?
Geez, that's a tough question to answer. And I think it's a tough question to answer because I don't know if I necessarily say there's a favorite, to be honest. And the reason I say that is because we are always looking for the right clients to work with. And so, I would think, every client we work with is a client that we mutually have respect for and would want to engage with. And for a lot of different reasons. So that being said, back to sort of the second principle I said, I've worked with diverse and interesting clients. we've worked with, museums and nonprofits. We've worked with universities. We've worked with Fortune 500 companies, and they all have different strengths and weaknesses, and they're all sort of amazing clients at the end of the day.
What would you say to a high schooler that wants to be their own CEO of a creative director, or be a CEO of their own design company or whatnot?
Yeah, it's a great question. What I would say is that it's less about the title. I guess that's the first thing I would say. I don't know if I set out to be a CEO slash creative director. And honestly, I don't know how much of that really matters. And what I mean by that is that, there's people that, might call themselves creative directors, and ultimately it's a definition that might be different depending on who you're talking to or what industry they're in and so forth. So I wouldn't get hung up on the title is sort of what I'm saying. And I would say that it's really about finding something that you love doing. It's about finding something you're good at doing and you're passionate about. Do you wake up and are you sincerely excited about what you're trying to tackle? And I think, that's really sort of what I would start with is like, figuring out like, are you interested in the creative industry, and what that means? I think that would be the first question I would sort of ask somebody, and, if you're in high school, and then sort of talk about, do you have a passion for design, and we look at design as something that is beyond visual. I think sometimes people view design as just aesthetic or how something looks. But if you want to get more academic about it, and such, design-driven companies, just like purpose-driven companies, have been proven to be more profitable and to be more successful and to create more impact. And I think that the point is that there is a real value behind what we do and companies that believe in the power of design. And so I think if you've got this idea of wanting to solve problems and make something better, that's really at the heart of what we do. We're looking at experiences that maybe are pain points, like maybe you go to the mall and you're like, man, I wish there was a better way to check out or to go shopping or whatever it may be. And when you're able to creatively think about better ways to do that, then you're a designer, thinking about that overall experience, thinking about how do you sort of make that a better experience for people. And ultimately, I think that if you believe in that, you'll naturally fall into that opportunity. And I think the difference, I would say, if you want to talk specifically about the title around being a CEO, I think the only difference there is, do you want to be a leader? Do you have a vision and a mission, like I said, that's beyond just being a creative director? Because there's many creative directors that work for other companies as well. And I think the difference for me is that there's equal parts love of the business, which is maybe more on the CEO side, as there are on the creative side, which is more, design and so forth. So that's more on the creative director side. So I would say I have a passion for both, where, if you're somebody who's more focused on one side versus the other, that's okay. So I wouldn't say that, you need to be, both, unless that's your passion and you really do have an equal desire to be just as interested in the business conversation. And again, I think it's a very individual choice at the end of the day. But I do feel like the impact of what we do when we can solve business problems through design, to me, is much more rewarding than, just looking at through one lens.
Wow. Thank you for your time today, Mr. Lai. Any last words for those high schoolers out there who need an idea on what to pursue in life?
Yeah, I mean, the only piece of advice I'd give is, you've got, one life to live. And, I think, don't get caught up in what everybody else is doing around you.
That's it for the video. A big thank you to Mr. David Lai for the inspiration and wisdom, and we'll see you later.